So as promised, we're going to discuss 972 in depth. The official is out. You can go read it on viz.com/shonenjump. I read it on the Shonen Jump app, so I get an alert once it comes out, so you can go check it out. That's the best way to do it. Of course, the scans came out yesterday and we did a video about it. There was a lot that I touched on, but normally with the Viz, I just go through the chapter to basically point out the differences and to delve a bit deeper than I did with the scans, because even though they're good, sometimes some things are taken out of context. So once the Viz comes out, that's the one I normally defer to. So gotta say off rip, scans were not much different from the Viz. There's certain things that, you can change and take a bit differently, but for the most part, it was good. It was really good. What we're gonna do, we're gonna go through the chapter and just talk about some important things that I didn't really touch on in depth in the review. I think the Viz did a great job of explaining just how the people found out about what was going on with Oden. I think it was a bit vague or a bit, I don't know, hard to understand in the scans, but in the Viz, it specifically says that the information about Oden was spreading through the crowd like wildfire. I think it's interesting that one of Kaido's calamities, that's their epithet. But yeah, it was spreading through the crowd like wildfire, and people just, talking about how they look stupid because now knowing what Oden did, of course you're gonna feel terrible about it. So that was better broken down in the Viz. I really didn't touch on Oden's mindset too much yesterday, but I think in the Viz, it's clear that Oden as a character, he's flawed, right? There's several flaws you can point out. The one that people talk about a lot is naivete, but I think Oden is headstrong, unbelievable will. The fact as well that he died with a smile, that could tie into his lineage as well. The Kozuki, they go back, right? They were the reasons for Wano being closed off. We know Wano was being protected from a great power outside. That's a bit vague and that's hard to interpret because the power I assume would be the ancient weapons, but I would assume Wano is connected to the ancient kingdom, so why would they be protecting themselves from the ancient weapons unless the ancient weapons fell into the wrong hands back then and they were trying to protect their people by keeping the country closed off. But because the country's closed off doesn't mean they can't be affected by these ancient weapons. The gigantic power I can think of maybe are the Marines that they were trying to protect themselves from, or the kingdom that took over after the ancient kingdom fell, but that's difficult to determine. But for Oden, I think he deserves a specific character analysis video because he has some depth to him, and I think him as a character, he leads to a lot of contentious arguments because people feel like Oden is pretty much just a vehicle for story progression, when I feel like I have genuine emotions towards Oden and his struggles and things he went through. Like the title, How to Die with a Smile, I think this is a perfect way. Like he went out the way I think he would want to, protecting his scabbards, protecting his people somewhat. Again, hindsight is 2020. At the end of the day, they suffered for 20 years, but that's what was expected. There's some things that Oden said that were profound, but let's try to dissect them a bit more. But before that, his resolve is amazing. He knew that they were going to kill him today. I mean, I'm going to talk about Kaido and Oden in depth separately because I think that's the most interesting thing from this chapter. So it happens from time to time, right? When a chapter comes out, I latch on to certain things, or certain things annoy me, then I have a soliloquy about it, and then the chat goes crazy, or the comment section, they have their perspective on it, and I enjoy the banter back and forth because then I can understand how people feel about certain things. And I feel differently from a lot of people, so I'm not upset when people feel differently from me because at the end of the day, people are going to view things differently all the time. But I think it's interesting, right? We'll talk about the Kaido thing a bit later. I touched on it a bit in the review, but this time I will give the perspective of what I'm seeing from people. But when I do that specific video, then I'll go more in depth about the legs to it because I feel like there's so many layers to it. It's simple. It looks like it's something really small, and I do that from time to time where I latch onto things and then things become a big deal because I try to dissect it, and then people are like, well, that was a lot more important than I thought it was. Thank you. But initially people are like, why are you so focused on that? It's so small. But I think things like that is why I enjoy One Piece so much, because there's small nuances in the chapters that they make me think. So let's get to it. Something I caught in the Viz that wasn't as clear in the scans is when Oden said he was going to die, right? Saying that they're going to kill him, and he's letting them know that he wants them to open up Wano in his stead. Denjiro says, well, we should join Lord Oden in, and I'm assuming he's going to say in death. Like he's willing to die with Oden. Raizo puts his hand over his mouth and says, your dream is our dream. Now, my friend, he has a theory that Raizo is the traitor, and I thought this was very suspicious. Granted, it could be viewed from the perspective of he just wants Oden to go out the way he wants to. Like, your dream is our dream, shutting up Denjiro like that. A bit odd. I must say. So it would be an amazing twist that the person that they lost limbs for, I'm talking about Inarashi Nekomamushi, an entire country suffered for Raizo. And if the person that was being protected is the person that gave out his location in the first place, it would be an insane twist. So I think other than Raizo, if Kinemon was the traitor, that would be the most insane. But if Raizo is the traitor and he's the one that led them to Zou, gave him the Vivre card, and he's been betraying them this entire time, that would be kind of crazy. And it's funny, the person that complained while being on the board while Oden was holding them up was Raizo in the last chapter. So I'm starting to look at Raizo a bit differently, but of course nothing is conclusive. For a while I thought it was Shinobu, now I'm thinking it's Raizo, the community thinks it's Kanjuro. We have to wait and see. In regards to the 800-year thing, the Viz clarified it, and I broke down in my video yesterday when a native speaker basically confirmed that it's not 800 traveling through time, it's just 800 years appearing after 800 years, and the Viz said the same thing. And it said when that figure appears after an 800-year span, and obviously the figure from back then is Joy Boy. So the new Joy Boy, like I said in my video I made about Joy Boy, that Joy Boy more than likely is a title and not the name of an actual person. And it's funny, in this chapter, like they allude to Joy Boy, and then Oden dies with a smile on his face. The whole Joy Boy thing, that's going to be revealed at some point. Again, Im-sama is involved because, you know, we have the straw hat, the large straw hat. It's a lot more to be discovered, but I like how Oda is throwing out puzzles where we can tie things together, but not really come to a conclusion or a definitive conclusion. I didn't really talk about Orochi much yesterday, but these are my thoughts on Orochi. He's a scumbag. He's truly despicable. He's truly slothful. If you guys, some of you may know what that's from. He is someone that you should hate. I saw a poll on Twitter or something where people talk about like the most hateful characters in One Piece, and Orochi's already on that list because people had Wapol, Spandam, Orochi was on there obviously. I'm not sure why Foxy was on there too, because Foxy is pretty likable. I don't know, that was weird. But I think for Orochi, he's playing that role well. Oda is writing him for him to be hated. When he talked about his backstory with him being chased down for being a Kurozumi, I understood that. Like, I understood what Oda is trying to go with that perspective. However, it's hard to care about that when he's doing the exact same thing and even more. And he's trying to do it to his own people. Granted, everybody's not a Kurozumi in Wano, but everybody is from Wano and you're trying to do that to everyone. Orochi is the bottom of the barrel, despicable trash. No question. The Oden and Kaido stuff, again, we'll talk about that in a specific video, but let's touch on it really quickly. The Viz confirmed a few things, right? He did indeed apologize for what happened with the old hag. The old hag, because people were asking what I was talking about. The old hag is the woman that had the Mane Mane fruit. I could say her name, but whatever. Who tricked Oden, tricked Sukiyaki, who helped Orochi get to where he is. And she is the reason why Kaido landed the decisive blow on Oden. Yesterday, my issue with that was it felt out of place, where I found it annoying that he was saying that, because saying that doesn't really change anything. And it led to a conversation about honor, right? Where I don't think the conversation should have been about honor, because I don't expect that from Kaido. Kaido is trying to overrun a country and build weapons and smile fruits. Honor is something that's not expected from someone like Kaido. But I think what's being expressed here, like I said, it felt self-serving and I still feel that way, but that does downplay it a bit. So I agree with some people on that. However, it's still for him. What I mean is, okay, Kaido is expressing his frustration of what happened with Oden, with the old hag, where I think he did want a fight. But of course, his goals of taking over Wano, that trumps whatever individual fighting that he would want to have with Oden. And I don't think initially he respected Oden. I think his respect developed over this hour, showing his resolve, showing that he was willing to do whatever it takes for his people. So it's not about honor here. I do think though, Kaido mentioning this leads to a different conversation about Kaido, because this could be the first step in the evolution of Kaido. This specific translation though did give a bit of a different take as to what Oden said to Kaido, because after Kaido apologized, in the scans Oden said, "You're a pretty serious one, aren't you? Get as strong as you can." Then he goes into his speech about, you know, how he's Oden and Oden's made to boil, all of that. In the Viz, it has a different tone, right? You guys can tell me your perspective on this. In the Viz, he says, "How upright of you. Build your strength while you can, for I am a story to accompany your drinks. I am Oden and I was born," and then the people finished it off, "to boil." And that's an amazing scene. It felt more genuine in the Viz. Like, it felt like it had a different feel to it. But here's my perspective on that. Saying how upright of you, right? Where he killed the woman that interfered with his fight. However, he still has a gun to his head. After the agreement was if he did survive, he would let them go. But then there are layers to this, and not removing context. Oden's body should be done. Kaido said his body is done. It's somewhat weird that Kaido can say this, because Kaido would not agree to Oden being in the pot if he thought Oden could outlast it, right? So I think Kaido saying his body is done, you're not a trusted source because you thought Oden would be in there and he wouldn't last. It's almost like Whitebeard, right? Like when they gave him that trial because he didn't want him to accompany him. Like the point wasn't giving you something you could eclipse. It was giving you something that I don't think you could achieve. So Oden saying that, Kaido's like, oh yeah, you can do it, because he didn't think he could. So now that he did it, you were like, well, your body is done. For me personally, it's like, well, maybe, but if he gets out of the pot, he's having casual conversations in the pot. Like if he gets out the pot, maybe he could be saved. But Kaido's like, no, I'm gonna give you a mercy killing, right? Because Orochi, we know he changed his mind and he was gonna kill them anyway. And that's a difficult thing as far as the statement about apologizing what happened with the old hag, is that you're in bed with Orochi. So anything Orochi does is a reflection of you as well. So killing the old hag, yeah, she messed up your fight, quote unquote, but she's the reason why Orochi got to where he is. So that mindset, that's what got you to where you are now. So with Kaido, again, he's trying to take over a country. So he's not doing anything wrong here. So I want to make that clear, because that was being lost in the shuffle, that Kaido is not doing anything wrong. He's doing exactly what I want him to do, right? Because he's a pirate. However, you can't cut corners. You can't decide to show some semblance of honor here by saying, well, I had her killed, because you turn a blind eye to Orochi's BS when you feel like it. But I guess this is something that's important to Kaido because Oden showed him that he's a man that deserves respect. So again, there's more to it, and I'll get into that at a different time, but these are my thoughts on it, right? So I appreciate everybody that chimed in. Some people were disrespectful, and those people aren't a part of the channel anymore. But for people that chimed in and you kept it respectful and you gave your thoughts, I appreciate you a lot. So as far as the tone of this, right, where Oden says, how upright of you, build your strength while you can, for I, because that's different from the scans where he says, you're a pretty serious one, aren't you? Get as strong as you can, period, right? So that's the end of that statement. In the Viz, it makes it seem like he's somewhat telling him like a reckoning is coming. That's how I took it. A lot of people took it differently, like he was showing respect for Kaido. I don't know if that's necessarily respect. He wanted to take down Kaido, and Kaido is doing all this to his country. I don't know how you can have respect for someone like that. But him saying, how upright of you, to me, it's almost sarcastic. Like, okay, how upright of you? Like, okay, you killed the hag, but you still have a gun pointed to my face. You wanted to see me boil. How upright of you? That's how I'm taking it. But someone could take it a lot differently. But he's telling him, build your strength while you can, for I am a story to accompany your drinks, where he's saying a reckoning is coming. So get as strong as you can, Kaido. So it's almost a warning to Kaido. So that's why I felt, to me, like this could be a trampoline per se to Kaido's greatness, and the first step in Kaido actually becoming as strong as he could. My friend Anime Fan Talk, he had an amazing comment on my live reaction. So if you want to see that, you can go to my channel, Brago D Ace, and the pinned comment, or the top comment, is how he felt about Kaido and the implications of it. Again, I'll get more into that in another video, but I thought it was a great comment. Toki, again, is utterly somewhat useless so far. Her being from the Void Century has no impact or no bearing on anything that's going on. The funny thing is that Oden is telling her about the 800-year thing, which is weird. You're from that time. What insight are you going to give us, Toki? Yeah, I expect to find out about it in real time, but what was your purpose? Was it just to be Oden's vehicle? What I mean is Oden's child bearer and be this emotional support that we really didn't feel at all. Like, I like, Oden. Toki is not likable because we don't feel anything from her. I mean, I don't know how people feel about Toki, but she's just there. Like, she's there to bear kids, and she's there to, I guess, provide some exposition about the Void Century. Like, you're from that time. Why did you not say anything? You're just echoing the sentiments of Oden. So that's just weird. We'll see. She's obviously alive. Like, she didn't say much the entire time, so she's obviously alive. So we'll see what comes about with Toki. The flashback should be over, and we should be heading back to real time. I would assume the best thing to do here is to go away from Wano for a second, maybe for a chapter, and show us what's happening with, Mihawk and those guys, the Sabo, maybe touch on that because Oda did have the interview talking about that. And so that may spur some Mihawk videos next week talking about, what if Mihawk did get captured? What if he didn't? So just Mihawk's future in general. I think Mihawk is a fun character to talk about. So, but guys, give me your thoughts. I know I said a lot here, but give me your thoughts on it. Very good chapter though. Like, I really enjoyed the chapter. Just certain things bothered me, like Oden having his swords in jail. So let me get it straight. You gave this person who scarred Kaido, the only person, and one could, I think you could come to the conclusion that probably stronger than Kaido at the time. You gave him his 2 swords back in jail. So you're telling me that Oden could have brought his swords to the execution. So Oden could have launched a full-fledged assault on Kaido and Orochi at the execution. What is happening? That was weird to me. That was so weird to me. I thought the kids got the swords in a different way, because if I'm Orochi, I want his swords, because we also know that Orochi, he took Oden's like shine. He was trying to change the history about Oden, saying that he defeated Oden and all these different things, that he's a two-sword style user. Why would Orochi not want his swords? Especially since he's the new shogun, he could drum up a story saying that he defeated Oden and took his swords. That was a different one to me. But guys, give me your thoughts. Again, a great chapter, a very good chapter, but I'm ready to go back to the present time and I'm excited for what's to come. Like the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Check out my other channel, BragoDAce, on YouTube. My patrons, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Again, like, subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.